call to order the May 17th, 2022 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier.
Here.
Ms. Krall. Here. Mr. Neale.
Here.
Mr. Slattery.
Here.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Here, can we all stand for the pledge, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation as it pertains to school-related topics will be permitted at each meeting. Each person wishing to address the board will approach the podium and state his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes has been used. During that time, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. Do we have anybody wishing to speak tonight? Okay. All right. Now we're going on to Dr. Polaris, our superintendent report.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Bartczak, Board of Education. I'm going to go over our agenda review or agenda items for this evening. We're starting on Board of Education, page 3, item 4.1 will be several of our National Honor Societies and National Junior Honor Societies student commendations. So recently had induction ceremonies for all of those events. We have a couple next week. So commendations for those students. 4.2 is an agreement with the ESC of Lorain County, North 2 for technology professional development services. This will be paid out of grant funds for next school year. We've been with North for the past 2 years, so just a continuation of that contract. It's actually a little bit of a reduction. We reduced the number of days, but that is coming out of grant funds. Item 4.3 is a agreement with Highland Speech Services for summer 2022 extended school year services for some of our students. Item 4.4 is an agreement with Positive Education Program, PEP Assist program for next school year, and this will also be out of IDEA grant funds. This is the 3rd year of that contract with the district. Item 4.5 is cafeteria prices for next school year. These are, this is not an increase in any prices for next year. Item 4. That was 4.5. Item 4.6, student fees for next school year. You can see listed below, these are the same fees we've had the last couple of years, no change in those costs. Item 4.7 is the approving the graduating class of 2022 effective when they complete those requirements. So that is approving the class of 2022. Item 5.1, you can see the 2-page list of supplemental assignments for next school year. Item 5.2, extended school year for our certified staff. These staff members will be working with students that require extended school year services, so those are the approval as needed. Item 5.3, so our classified staff that'll be working with our students this summer, so also extended school year services. Item 5.4, employment of 2 new certified personnel. Kimberly Kramer for our social studies position, 8th grade social studies, and Jacob Burko, our science teacher in 7th grade. So they're class and step for next school year. Item 5.5, employment of classified staff for the 21-22 school year. Jamie coming to us the last couple weeks of school, but we're in need of cleaning. She's able to come with us, so we're going to start her for the remainder of this school year. And then item 5.6, Jamie is also able to join our summer cleaning crew, which we appreciate. Item 5.7 is summer 2022 transportation hours. These are because some of our extended school year programs go into June and in July and in August. That's a very different schedule than our school schedule. We need to approve our bus drivers to make sure that they are able to transport our students. Also includes some transition time for routing, and also for summer activities as needed, okay? Item 5.8, employment of exempt employee mechanic. This is the same thing we did last year. This is covering Matt from July 1 of 2022 through the following calendar year. 5.9 is an unpaid leave of absence for one of our classified employees, and you can see the details below. Any questions regarding agenda items? Okay, great. Last couple items, and then I want to take away Mrs. A's thunder here. Just want to congratulate and wish everybody a great end of the school year. Good luck to our graduating seniors. Graduation is on Saturday, June 4th at 7 o'clock at Brooklyn Stadium, and looking forward to all of our wonderful activities at the end of the year. This evening after the board meeting, we'll be attending our annual senior awards ceremony. So congratulations to all. Looking forward to a great end of the school year. Thank you, Mrs. Bartczak.
Thank you, Dr. Polaris. Now on to Mrs. A for her treasurer's report, 5-year forecast.
I have a couple things on the agenda. The first thing I have for fiscal year '23, I have the student accident insurance per our policy. That's something that we're required to offer. Transfer to underground storage tank for decommissioning the wells, and then the forecast. And I know it's senior night tonight, so I don't want to take too much of everybody's time.
You have plenty of time, Mrs. A.
Anytime. We'll be okay.
We are here for you. You don't feel like you need to rush through anything, okay?
No,
This chair is
we got here
comfortable.
earlier, yeah.
We're good.
Well, thank you, welcome everybody. This is the spring 2022 5-year forecast. On the agenda today is the objective of the forecast, the revenues. I'll focus on the collection rate and the assessed values, levies, state funding formula. For the expense side, I'm going to focus on the supply cost increase and budget planning, and then go over our cost savings plan. So what is the objective of the forecast? It is, the purpose and the objective of this is that it's Ohio Revised Code. So why is it Ohio Revised Code? Why is it important? Because the general fund is funded through the taxpayers. So it's very important to have the transparency and the communication and the openness, because the general fund is funded through the taxpayers. It also helps ODE and the auditor state to identify school districts with potential financial problems, and it also engages the school board and the community with the long-range financial planning and discussions, which is what we're doing here. I'm going to jump right into the revenues, but take a step back with the collection rate. So the property tax collection rate, where I got it from, what it was the prior years, and forecasted. I've heard a lot when I first started here that our collection rate wasn't as high as what everybody thought, so I wanted to take, okay, let's look at the past, let's look what we have, and then let's take that information and forecast it forward. So calendar year 19, we were at a 99% collection rate. Calendar year 20, we're at a 99% collection rate, and then in calendar 21, we dipped down to 96. But as you look back in previous years, usually if there is a dip one year, the next year you're up to 99 to 101% because of the delinquents get picked up with that. So forecasting through, I believe I did a conservative approach around 98%. I do have a feeling that for the collection year of 22, we might be above 100% just due to delinquents from the prior year, but I wanted to have a conservative approach, and then I just went through 98% throughout the forecast. So I'm forecasting a 98% collection rate, but of what does that mean? It's a 98% collection rate of the assessed values of the total tax valuation. So as you can see here, the total valuation for calendar year 20 was $333 million. It went all the way up in collection year 2022 to 300 and.
This is total land valuation?
This is total everything, residential, commercial, and public utility. This is the total tax valuation. Thank you.
The whole city?
The whole thing. And as you can see with the asterisks, the calendar year 2022 was when we had the triannual budget update, so that's why it increased to $372 million. After that, I just have conservative, just kind of going on past of what happened. And then in collection year 25, you could see another little bump of $394 million, and that's just due to another triannual update that's coming through. So what I do is I take the total tax valuation that we get from the county, and then do 98% of that for the collection rate to get the revenues coming in. So that's where I get the numbers from, and then hopefully, you know, I could only use the information that we have today to make assumptions for tomorrow.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No, please.
The 98%, how do we compare to, if you know, everybody else? I mean, is that right in the middle? Is that?
Great question. No, to be honest with you, I don't know offhand, but I will say from the past 10 years for the city of Brooklyn, there was 1 year where we dipped all the way down to 92%. But then after that, the year after that was 94, then 96, and then it went up to 101. So we collected those delinquents, and then it kind of leveled out.
Okay.
So sorry, I don't have a.
No,
answer to
I
that
just,
question, but-
we'll just, really doesn't affect us. I just wondered how, with the percentages where we fell.
I am going to, not go there. Bobby? I got it. Thank you, though. We're gonna jump into the levy renewals. In May 2018, residents approved a 5-year, $2.25 million emergency levy with collection year beginning of January of 2019, and the forecast assumes the levy expiring in tax year December 2022 with collections continuing through December 2023. That's where you see that arrow pointing to. I'm not legally allowed to assume a levy's going to renew, so as you can see the blue bars of the revenue, you can see them dipping if the renewal levies fail. But if they do pass, you can see that in the yellow where the revenues remain consistent. In November of 2019, residents approved a 5-year $6 million with collection year beginning January 21. The forecast assumes the levy expiring tax year of January 24 with collections continuing through January of 2025. And you could see that through that arrow right there. And the district is considering returning to the ballot in November of 22 to renew the 5-year $2.25 million emergency levy. It's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, I keep hitting end instead of enter. The state funding, this is very important. This is about 10% of where we get our revenues from is the state funding. Beginning of fiscal year 2022, the state passed House Bill 110 to try to solve the inequity of the school funding. This is where they took they revamped the whole school funding, and they tried to look at the medium income of the districts and the residents that live it and try to be more equitable. Currently, the Brooklyn City School District has a positive impact on the new state formula, but legislation has not yet committed to the complete phase-in. The forecast assumes anticipating the phase-in, but it is not necessarily in law, so the next biannual budget could completely change the state funding. Where this new formula was a positive impact for Brooklyn, I cannot say for certainty what will happen after 2024, but I can show you where that I forecast and where that I made the assumptions. So what we have in law versus forecasted for the new state formula. In law, there was 2 years that I know of the new state formula phasing in for fiscal year 22 and for fiscal year 23. And then after that, there was a House bill introduced of what's being phased in, but nothing's in law, so I don't feel comfortable using that phase in when I don't know yet until they bring that into law. But what does that mean for Brooklyn? So with the numbers, the actual amount that we collected through the state was set to $744,000. With the new formula in fiscal year 22, we received $887,000. Next year, we're anticipating to get $1.2 million. And then after that, I did a conservative phase-in of 50% just to show that if they do pass the state formula and if they do keep it and they do phase it in, we will see a little bit more. But if they decide to scratch the whole thing and go back to what we were, then we would be seeing a lot less. So I just did a conservative phase-in going forward. As you can see, though, if you notice, I have 50% for 24 through 26, but if you notice, the numbers are going down a little bit. This number is based on a lot of factors, but one of the factors is the enrollment. So currently, right now, our enrollment is showing a decrease, so that's why you see those numbers decreasing. I'm going to do a hard shift into expenses, and the majority of our expenses, like most school districts, are salaries and benefits. That's the blue and the orange of the circle. We're at about 75%, normally between 75 and 80% of school district's expenses are salary and benefits, so that's completely normal. And a numbers standpoint, if you want to see it, the lavender line, purple, the total amount, you could see that for fiscal year 22 all the way forecasted to 26. And then beneath it is the breakdown of that. If I could kind of hone in on some of the amounts where I wanted to show my forecast. For an example, you could see in fiscal year 23 for supplies and materials, I have an increase of about 8%. I'm just going by the Department of Labor and what they anticipate. This is for transportation, for fuels, for items like that. So I have a little bit of an increase in the forecast for supplies. For capital outlay, I have budgeted about a 25% increase on that, just due to the facility study that we see, to other districts that have done construction. If they said it in the, they agreed to it last year and now they're starting this year, they're seeing about a 25% increase on prices. So I wanted to show that, reflect that in the forecast. I also have operating transfers out increasing. This is any money that is coming from the general fund that has to help other funds. Example, the food service fund, if that becomes negative because of, let's just say, we get our milk delivered to us, and if they decide, and maybe they started already, if they decided to do like a fuel surcharge and increase their prices, then our food service will go negative and we'll have to transfer more money from the general fund to the food service fund. We did not increase lunch prices for next year. We felt that we did not need to increase lunch prices. That might be something that we'll have to look at in the future, but right now I did budget a little bit more for the transfers out from the general fund to the food service fund to help if any of those expenses go negative for the food service. I also did a little increase to the the permanent improvement fund. As a board, it was discussed, I believe before I got here, about $150,000 would be transferred from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund to help with the permanent improvements for the district. And one of those things that was talked about was starting that capital budget and planning for if we had to replace the turf. So I increased that a little bit more because if prices go up, we're gonna see prices go up on that. So that's why that number went up a little bit. Our salaries and our benefits, you could see in fiscal year 25 increase. Specifically, if you just look at the salaries, it goes from 10.6 million to 11.4 million. A lot of that has to do with ESSER, and I have another slide on that. So if you just hold tight for 1 second, I'll get back to that one. And if you noticed on fiscal year 25, the supplies and materials increased a little bit. We usually go through curriculum cycles and new textbooks adoptions. I haven't sat down yet with the new curriculum director, so when we sit down and make a plan, we'll talk about textbooks adoptions, but I didn't want to forget that that is a huge expense that could be coming up that I wanted to put in there.
That's something that you explained to us, that if we don't do that, number's gonna go down. You know.
If we don't need a textbook adoption, or if we don't have to, correct, that number will go down. But usually, and depending on how many, the textbooks, if we have them for 3 years or 6 years, or if we need to do another one, I wanted to have it budgeted in there, but if we don't need to, then we don't. Then you're right, that number will go down. Now, for ESSER, which really hones in on the salaries and the benefits, you could see the ESSER impact in fiscal year 25. This is just expenses, and you could see how 25 and 26, how they increase from the prior ones. So what does this actually mean? The financial ESSER impact. The total for ESSER 1, 2, and 3 allocated to Brooklyn from the federal government was over $5.3 million. The grant period to spend this is September 30th, 2024. It either has to be spent by then or obligated and liquidated within 3 months. But so if it looks like we're spending a lot of money, it's because we received $5.3 million from the federal government to prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19, and it has to be spent in the grant period by September 30th, 2024. So there's definitely things that we have to address. There's learning loss, there's social and emotional, there's, at the beginning, it was masks, it was plexiglass, it was all that stuff. But with $5.3 million and a timeline to spend it, there were other opportunities that we used. Example, for the furniture, thank you, for the cafeteria, the furniture, I don't know how long since you've been here, has that furniture been there for the cafeteria tables?
Those previous tables were the same ones as that I had as a middle school principal
As middle, okay, probably
a few years ago.
before I was born, okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
Just making sure I can't touch it. I'm just
It's on
kidding.
video.
So, for example, those tables, we were allowed to buy new ones that were circular, that had specific seats, that if we had to do contact tracing, though the seats couldn't be moved around, that we could use ESSER money to do it, so we could prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19. So we had opportunities like that, we're like, hey, we need a new table, hey, we're allowed to use this money for new tables, so we're gonna do it. Another example was the carpeting. We've needed carpeting in different classrooms and the auditorium, but we just didn't have the money to do carpeting. Well, one of the things under ESSER was they allowed you to do carpeting if the carpeting is so old and you can't disinfect it and you need to clean it and you want to update it with squares, so if you have to take a piece out to put it back in. So there was a lot of things that we could do with the ESSER money legally that also helped out the district that needed the new carpet. So that's one thing with the financial impact of the ESSER money, that we tried to do it. One, obviously we're here for the academics, for the students and the kids, and what can we do with that? But also what one-time purchases can we use to help alleviate some of the general fund money? Some of the salaries that are funded through ESSER 1, 2, and 3, total of about $787,000. We had some new staff. This was to address the learning loss and the social emotional. So that was something new for the students and for extra tutoring or for extended day learning. And then we had some staff that we were allowed to use that was out of the general fund and move it to ESSER to address, prepare, prevent, and respond COVID-19. So that was another thing that helped out the general fund, that helped our cash balance to help us kind of push some of any thought of new money down the line, because we've have this $5.3 million that we have to spend by September 30th, 2024, or we lose it.
Ellen,
Yes.
this goes to you, Dr. Ted. Is any of the Digital Academy funded through ESSER?
Yeah, so,
What percentage, if you?
can't tell you percentage, Rick, but.
The percentage of the salary right now is 60%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we also, like, we use Edgenuity for the part of the credit recovery program, that's funded through ESSER, so the cost of that license, so a lot of, a portion of, the Digital Learning Academy is funded through ESSER, yeah. And so when that goes away, we will have to, that's part of that absorption back into the district general fund.
And that's a permanent cost, I mean, that's something that'll be ongoing.
Sustained, yeah.
Not a set up
You know, I
cost.
think the big thing with and the monies, again, it was a wonderful thing, but part of what we have to do as we go through the next 2 years is we have to make sure that the programs that we've put in place are sustainable, right? Because it's wonderful to add a new program like Brooklyn Digital Learning Academy, but we want that to become part of how we do business here in the district, not just, hey, it's a 3-year program because we have the money and then it goes away. So part of our conversation with my conversation with Colleen, administrative team, Board of Education, is whatever we do, we need to be purposeful in how we do it and how we implement it, because just because it becomes September of 2024 doesn't mean the need goes away for our students.
Right,
So,
and I think that's a great segue to my next slide, if you don't mind.
I don't,
Okay,
no,
sorry.
absolutely not, no.
Back to me now, sorry. So we want to sustain everything that we can through what we did with ESSER. So one thing that Dr. Claris and I did was we sat down and we did a potential cost savings 5-year plan. So we're really close to our $1 million mark is what we really wanted. But to sit down and reevaluate, what do we do, what do we need to do, what can we do differently? Because there are new expenses that popped up. So how can we still save what we're doing than what we need to do, but maybe save money on just reevaluating everything. So one of the things was not replacing positions through attrition. So just because somebody retires or resigns, maybe we don't need to have that position, maybe we could restructure. So that was one area where we could find savings. Replacement of positions with potential savings on experience. Example, if you have a teacher that has 35 years of experience and a master's plus, and then maybe bringing somebody on with a bachelor's degree, and so the experience level on the salary grid, you would save money on that. Another thing is the EMIS, it's the Educational Management Information System that houses the student information that then gets to ODE where our report card comes from. Since I've been here, it's been outsourced, and a couple of years before me, I know it's been outsourced. I don't know if it's always been outsourced, but that was another thing that we reevaluated and moved some things around, and we could bring that back in-house, back in-house, we could bring it in-house, and we save, $22,000 a year on that. The BWC savings, small savings, but everything adds up. So paying on time, one lump sum through the credit card on the website, we get a savings on that. Title I, reevaluating that, we get a huge savings on that, and I got a next slide on that, so I'm just gonna hold that for 1 second. But then the potential new staffing, so we definitely, our number one priority are the kids, so we don't want to have too many students in one classroom and not enough teachers. So we might need another classroom assistant, or for example, we brought transportation, we might need another bus van driver. So there are gonna be some offsets with the new additions. So we do have a cost savings plan to help alleviate when that ESSER money goes away, you know, what can we do as Brooklyn? Now for Title I, their grant monies. Title I is federal funds provided for all children in a significant opportunity to receive fair, equitable, and high-quality education and to close educational and achievement gaps. So what does that mean? Schools have to prove eligibility that we are a Title I school to provide these extra monies. One way that we do that is by the free and reduced paperwork that we send out and then we get back. We also have to provide accountability for systems to identify, develop, and implement plans to support and improve low performance. We have to have a plan that we get this money, but what are we gonna do with it? And then we also have to follow spending guidelines to determine the use of the federal funds. So, for example, we cannot use federal funds from Title I to meet basic educational needs. That has to come from the general fund. But however, we can use federal funds for any supplemental program. So what does that mean? When I sat down and figured all the grant money that we have and what can we do to alleviate the general fund legally, but still follow the guidelines that we have. And one of the things that, after sitting down with administrators and ODE, was one of the questions was, do you have a half day or a full day kindergarten? Like, we have a full day kindergarten. So the basic need is a half day, but we do a full day, so we could take all the kindergarten expenses, cut it in half, and half of them's general fund, and the other half is through the grant money. So that has relieved, especially the first year when we had all this COVID carryover money, it helped relieve the general fund money to move all those expenses to come out of the grant instead of the general fund. So that was one thing that we did with a lot of the grant money, is just reevaluate what's a basic need, what's a supplement, and just move things around legally, but where it makes sense of, let's take the opportunity and use as much grant money as we can so we don't have to dip into the general fund, which is taxpayer funded.
Kelly,
Yeah.
can title grant money be used for like English as a second language program?
Yeah, so there's more than just Title I, there's a handful of Title Is, but yes, that could be used for some of that.
I know the governor is talking about bringing in over 100,000 immigrants from Ukraine,
Okay.
and I'm not sure where to place them, but it's where the epicenter of the Ukrainian population.
That's Title III? Yeah, Title III.
Yes.
So we get specific, Rick, federal dollars, state dollars. Title I, II, Title III addresses our students that have English as a second language. And so right now, currently on staff, we have 2 staff members, one at the lower building, lower campus, one 8 through 12. It's divvied up a little bit differently than by the buildings. But right now we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 to maybe 150 students. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, of students that qualify as receiving ELL services. And so we got 2 great staff members working through that. But we receive those state dollars. So hopefully, if that does happen, we see a little bit of an increase through our Title III funding that would help us alleviate some of that pressure.
So it wouldn't be borne by general fund?
It would not be. I don't anticipate it, and now it may be, unless if we don't receive any federal or state help from that, then we would have to look at our general fund to service those students. Right now, we haven't seen the influx from that as yet. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Comment, so would that also cover, would those funds also cover for an ASL person to come in and assist a student during the day?
It would not, that would come out of our disability fund. Yeah, that would come
Yeah,
out of
so
our
we do
IDEA.
have a, another, IDA, grant fund that helps for that,
Yeah.
yes.
Now, Kelly, to answer your question, I don't know that, we'd have to look at specifically where we're at in terms of what our allocation is, so depending on where Mrs. Jones is with her allocation, some of that staffing may have to be, put on the general fund, but I can get that answer from.
Yeah, and there's
from
also
Paul.
more requirements of, you have to at least sustain it in the general fund, you have to meet like a maintenance of effort, saying that we're spending as much general fund as we can to meet this need also before we get that supplemental extra. But it's definitely worth going to the seminars and the professional development to see the most bang for your buck. It's just the best for the district of where you could use the funds.
Kelly, I'll talk with Paula this week and I'll include it in Friday's update, okay?
And then in summary, if you don't mind, I think I'm just gonna read this as we show you the numbers. The cash balance is positive at year-end fiscal year '22 and projected to worsen by fiscal year '26, affecting the district's financial stability over time. COVID-19 ESSER funds from the federal government have helped our general fund, but the funds will run out in September of 2024. Less than 10% of our revenues come from the state, and depending on the new state formula, that could definitely affect this forecast. And over 85% of our revenues come from the local property taxes. And two informational bullet points on that is the renewal of the emergency levies will allow the district to maintain current operations and fiscal stability, but the non-renewal of the emergency levies will put the district in a deficit spending in fiscal year '24 by $329,000. So this graph right here shows you if the levies pass, with the levies and without, because like I said, I can't technically show a forecast assuming a levies pass, but it gives you the difference if we have the levies versus if we do not have the renewal levies pass.
And obviously the renewals, no new money.
No new
That's-
money, we're pushing that, that's why it's.
I just want everybody to
Yeah,
hear you say
no
that.
new money currently right now that we're anticipating. The ESSER money helped out with pushing some of the expenses legally that we could, getting some one-time purchases that we could, and then help build up our cash balance to have a cash reserve to push as far back as we can where we feel comfortable before any new money. And I did forget to mention, this current forecast does not have, we have a new Teamsters negotiation a new Teamsters contract that we're negotiating that ends this summer, and then fiscal year '23, the teachers fall off. So we'll be negotiating another contract for them, and that's not represented in this forecast.
Okay.
Questions?
Well, just to put it in layman's terms, just to spell it out more clearly on your last slide. So looking at, say, 2026, we're gonna start with 8.9 million. And without, or I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
With the renewals, we're still gonna be deficit spending, so we're going to end the year with 8 million.
Correct.
So-
If the renewals pass, correct.
Okay, and if they do not, we are going to negative spend 4.6 million.
Correct.
With our ending cash balance of 77,000.
Correct. So if both those renewals do not pass, obviously we'll do as much as we can, but that situation will,
You're reading that correctly.
yes,
So-
it will
so-
look for new money for that situation, yes.
Just to be clear, without the renewal, our cash balance is, with not doing the math in my head, is over $7 million. The difference.
Correct. We would have,
Yes.
if renewals
Yes.
pass, we'll have an $8 million cash balance. If the renewals do not pass, we will have a $77,000 cash
So
balance, which won't even cover
$7.8 million
payroll for a week. So,
Mhm.
yes.
Just wanna make that
Yeah.
extra clear.
Yeah, $7.8 million difference between the two.
Yes, and you probably already know this, but when we say deficit spending, we mean that our expenses are over your revenues. So if you have a surplus, revenues are over expenses. If you have a deficit, expenses are over revenues. And my favorite line when they have the governors, when they try to do the race, is we balance the budget. And that's where you want the revenues to equal expenses. I mean, that's the main goal, because we're not in here to make a profit. But so when we talk about deficit spending, that means the expenses are more than our revenues.
So is that line supposed to be like the ending cash balance with levies and then one with, then the other one without? So-
Correct, yeah,
So
so if
like
you.
it shouldn't be like ending cash balance without, that with, like the ones without the levies and then,
Right, so that very bottom line is what our cash balance will look like if the two renewals do not pass.
okay, okay. All right,
We can't spend like the federal government, just keep spending?
No.
Oh, we could do that.
anyone else have any questions? Like, I have some questions, going back to the ESSER money,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because we talked about this before and it's been brought up by the residents. So, we have salaries, okay? Currently coming out of it. So who is getting paid right now out of ESSER money?
We have our technology getting paid out of ESSER currently. We have our coordinator of student support services being paid out of there. That was one of the new additions we had to address learning loss. We also have a mental health services, a woman come, and that's a new one that we put through ESSER to help with some of the social emotional needs. We also added a couple new, an ELA teacher and an ELL teacher. And then some of our digital learning academy got moved to ESSER, and then preschool. So those are who we added the salary and benefits.
So by the 6th grade and 7th group, so we originally, so one of the first hires we had was a 6th grade teacher, 7th grade teacher. Reason we did that is to reduce the class sizes, because in those grade levels, we only had 3 sections of teachers, where all the other grade levels were at 4 sections. So we added at the 6th, at the 7th grade level to reduce the class size, to reduce the interactions with the kids. Ultimately, we still need 4 sections per grade level. So those are specifically 2 positions we need to maintain as we go through. Like I said, we had the ELL teacher, English language learning teacher. We had an intervention specialist at the high school. We added Hannah Benevenci. She's our coordinator for mental health and family services, working with some of our families as they're transitioning back to COVID. And then we've also added, or we've taken some of our current staff that we had before COVID, and we just moved that salary from general fund to.
We were allowed to move, especially
Right.
like the technology, because a lot of their work was based now with the Chromebooks and passing them out and make sure that the technology worked when they were doing remote. So there was some salaries that we paid for out of the general fund that legally we were allowed to push to the ESSER fund, which in turn helped the general fund just build up either that cash balance or help us pay for other things that we needed.
Okay, so let's go through it. Bobby, was he out of the general fund or is he new?
He was
I'm-
not
I'm-
new.
Yeah.
He was
yeah,
not
I'm
new.
do- I'm doing this for the public, so he was out of our general fund and we were able to pay him through ESSER.
Correct.
Okay. Taylor and then Neonet,
Correct. They're not new. They were out of general fund and now they're ESSER.
okay? Sapria's
She
position.
is new to address the learning loss, yes.
Okay. Dave,
Dave Wallace is taking over for Taylor Smith.
okay, so he's.
He'll be out of ESSER for the next 2 years, and then he'll go back to general fund.
Okay. Judy,
She was new, and correct me if I'm wrong,
She's new.
out of ESSER to help with the class size.
Correct.
okay. Emily,
She is, she's a
New.
replacement, or is she new?
She is new.
She's
New.
new, she didn't
Well,
replace somebody? I
No, I
thought,
take that back. She's a replacement.
she's a replacement, so,
She replaced Mr. Pachowski.
yeah, she is a new person, but she replaced somebody that was from the general fund that's going to ESSER.
what did Mr. Pajewski do, so for the,
He was ELL.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
He
the
was
audience?
He was an ELL teacher in the
Okay,
district.
so that's
Yep.
that's one of the ones that you were talking about. a
Correct.
minute
It's
ago.
not a new position, it's a
Yeah.
replacement.
It's a replacement. Okay, Sarah,
She is a new 7th grade teacher to address the classroom size.
And
okay,
That's new.
that one's new.
That's
That
a
one's
new position.
Jeff,
He is a new person also, I don't believe, was he a
New-
replacement?
New position because we shifted current, at the time, current intervention specialist to BDLA. So that was, so we shifted,
So,
we shifted the need to BDLA, new programming to address some of those needs. We had to replace that to fill the needs throughout the high school.
okay. Sarah,
Sarah Lee preschool teacher, we added another preschool teacher.
okay. And then Dunlap, Harshman, I guess.
We were allowed to do half their salary over to ESSER, but they were not new.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We we're replacing quite a few classroom assistants. So right now, we're down 3 classroom assistants.
Okay.
so.
But those are current positions we already had, classroom assistants, okay. And then Mike's was,
Micah was a replacement for the athletic director, but then the BDLA was new.
only 60% of his salary though, right? Only comes
Correct,
out
just
of-
coming out of ESSER, that's new, correct.
That's only 60%, and then Hannah is
New.
new, she's new, okay. And so, we're just, but we are more than, like, the ESSER fund, some of this 5 million, because I don't want people in the, I don't want people in the community to get the wrong impression about the 5 million and think that we're flushed with cash.
Right,
Okay, so that's what, I'm trying to point out here. So there was some things that we were legally allowed to take out of the general fund.
Correct.
People, and move them and use the ESSER funds for.
Correct.
That, and we have to spend it by 2024.
Correct.
So we're not, there's not, we're using that money.
So
We're not gonna have that money.
Well, here's what I would say too, like, I think what the pandemic did was, it put a spotlight on the needs of school districts, not just Brooklyn, on any school district. And so what it allowed us to adjust our programming to meet student needs. And as kids have transitioned back, especially this year, because last year we were on, we were remote 6 weeks, we were on the hybrid schedule the remaining parts of the school year, we were all over the place based on lots of different things. As kids and staff have transitioned back to a 5-day regular school day, we have seen social, emotional, and both academic concerns from our kids that have come back. And so what I would say is every position that we have added is a position that is needed. And it is my job and Colleen's job over the next 2 years to make sure that our programming, our funding, and our budgeting is in place to maintain those positions, right? So to your point, we are not flush with cash, right? This has helped us. It's allowed us to do things that we would not have been able to do in other situations. For example, let's just use the furniture example. The purchasing the new furniture was allowed within the context of the rules of the ESSER funding, because it allowed us to social distance and do some other things within the classroom. That's almost $400,000 worth of both cafeteria and classroom furniture we've purchased for Brooklyn High School and Brooklyn School. In a typical situation, typical funding that would take us 5 years to do, 6 years to do, as we phase it in the right way. We've been able to take advantage of some of the influx of federal funding to address those needs right away for our
and
kids.
if we don't spend it, we don't get it, so we lose it. So we're taking an opportunity and we're spending it. Because like I said, if we don't, it's not like we could just put it in the bank for a rainy day. We don't get it, we lose it.
So, and because of ESSER, we're able to do things like the track.
Correct, exactly,
So
because,
explain to them how we can do the track now because of ESSER.
so some of the monies that we had that were coming out of general fund that didn't allow us to do the track before, some salaries like technology and other items, we were allowed to now pay for an amount of ESSER funds, which relieve the general fund money. And so we were allowed to take that and do it with the track, because we couldn't, and I tried to do the track out of ESSER. I really tried, thought you had to social distance outside, I really was working it, but it wasn't an allowable source.
Right.
Yeah. So the money that we did save that moved it to the ESSER for the 3 years, we are doing the track with it.
Anything else like big that you've done with the money that we were able to do, that you were able to shift the money from general? that-
Out of the general fund, I will say, we did get the bus grant, so that doesn't have to do with ESSER, and we are getting the grant for the bus, but that is another big expense that we were able to get 3 new buses because we got the bus grant.
And hopefully a van purchase, which you guys will see pretty soon, but.
Correct.
Some of the things that probably forced the district to make a decision to outsource their transportation because of some of the relief on the general fund. We've been, through ESSER, we've been able to now allocate some of these big purchases. So we're gonna buy 3 school buses and a new van. That's gonna put a school district our size in a good position for 10+ years.
But we also got, there was 135,000, a grant for the new buses.
Correct,
So we
right.
took that opportunity to be able to, some of our money that was moved to ESSER, we had half the money to spend for the buses, and we got the opportunity for a grant for the other half of the money. So that was a big purchase.
And Bonnie, to your point, I think the big piece here is we are trying to be fiscally responsible and put the necessary work and resources into the school district with the current funding model that we have and under the current, without having to go to the community for any new ask. Because that's a big piece for me. That's the last thing we want to do. And so I think this has allowed us to have some flexibility and it's allowed us to prioritize some projects a little bit sooner and in a quicker time frame than it has under a normal funding cycle.
Okay.
I would say, well, extend that to, say that we probably save the district close to $1 million of having to go to the taxpayers and ask for PI money.
Correct, yeah.
Because the road
Yeah,
buying all the capital equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Furniture.
we've been very fortunate to be able to do some of our capital projects through, driveways and parking lots and track and, some of these other things that add up and that truly haven't been addressed in the past. And that's not a criticism, but it's a part of our responsibility to make sure that we have those things in place for the community, for the district.
Just a quick question. Sarah, the preschool, that isn't out of the grant? They don't pay that? Because I know we get the grant money for the preschool. I mean, that
We
isn't
get
go.
some restricted money for preschool, and we also get some county money for preschool, but
Yeah.
it doesn't cover the
It
whole
won't cover it
expense.
all.
It won't cover
No, it won't
Correct.
cover it.
everything. Okay, all right.
So in your professional opinion, as an educator, all those positions are needed to educate kids in this school.
Absolutely.
That's all that
Okay,
counts.
so to off what he said, did we create any positions due to COVID? And
We did.
So are we anticipating that we, in 2024, are going to, you don't have to say which ones, but keep
Yeah.
all those positions? Or were there any specifically COVID-related that by 2024, if we can't pay for it, then?
So I'll answer the question. We've been purposeful in creating the positions, right? Because I've seen other places that spend the money to spend the money, but the positions we have in place now are needed for our kids, needed for our staff, right? And so part of what I want to work with Colleen and the board on over the next 2-3 years, as we have staff that leave us or retire through attrition, pick up those savings, look at our programming, look at our numbers, look at our programming, so that when we get to 2025, we're not deficit spending. When we get to 2026, we're still not deficit spending. That's the ultimate goal, because the sooner we can pick up costs, the compounding impact it has on everything. So I work with I continuously have conversations with the administrative team on let's look at our people. Do we need to replace? Why do we need to replace? It is, and again, the last thing you want to do as a superintendent is to have a conversation with somebody in 2, 3, 4 years and say, by the way, we're going to have to reduce your position. So it's my job to make sure that we put our people, our kids in the best position going forward. But yeah, so Kelly, answer your question. Right now, all of those positions are absolutely necessary. I gotta work with Colleen and the board over the next 2-3 years to make sure that
And-
we're not deficit spending in 26.
In the next 2 years too, I'll know the new biannual budget, and I'll know what's happening with the state formula. So that will help us too. If that formula does get phased in, like they anticipated getting phased in before, then that will definitely help that.
So, because, because you did 50% across.
I did 50% for 24, 25, and 26, correct.
So that 904 number could actually be reduced if the percentage is like 83%.
Well, if it actually goes to 83%, it would, we would be getting more money.
So that's what I
Yeah.
meant, the negative would.
Oh,
be
yeah,
reduced.
yeah, yes.
Colleen, what about, any projections on enrollment? Is our enrollment going up, is it going down?
Yeah, over the last 2 years, our enrollments remain pretty steady. We were at the highest point back in 13, 14, somewhere shy of 1,400 students. Right now, we're just shy of 1,200 students, so we're probably 1,180, somewhere around there. So last couple of years, it has remained steady. I know Mrs. Jones' preschool program is just blossoming, and so we went from, in 2021, 25 preschool students to this year we have 65. So we're seeing an influx of students in. I only hope that we continue to have that increase in enrollment. So, but right now, Kelly, it's about steady. Yeah, it's about steady.
That's Rick.
Rick, I'm sorry, Rick, I'm sorry.
Kelly's like, give Rick that
Rick,
one.
great
Give
question.
Rick that Give Rick that credit.
Well, it just ties into what Kelly was asking.
Thank you, that's all I had. If you reached, email me, call me, set up an appointment. I'll be happy to go over every line item in detail, if you would like.
Thank you, Mrs. A.
Thank you.
And this is a carpet was invented when I was born, so.
Sorry.
Just like everybody, so we're, for the record, okay?
Great.
Now on to comments from board members and board committee reports, and tonight we're going to start off with Mr. Rick Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, first I'd like to take this advanced opportunity to congratulate the National Honor Society, Junior Honor Society, National Arts Honor Society, Junior Art Society, National Spanish Honor Society, and the National Technical Honor Society for their 2022 inductees. Know that we are very proud of your accomplishments and you earned them. I want to thank my fellow board members for taking the initiative to support parental rights when it comes to their students' education in Ohio. We have taken the forward position and initiative along with other school districts to ask our trade association, OSBA, to keep focusing on any legislation that continues to support parental rights to know what is being taught to our students in Ohio. On our agenda today is the first reading of a resolution that asks Brooklyn voters to consider voting for renewal of our operating levy that will come up for voting in November. This is no new money, and we appreciate the support you've given us over the last few years. We do promise to continue to be good stewards of your taxpayer money and welcome any questions or comments you might have regarding this renewal levy. It is absolutely critical, as you saw tonight with the demonstration, it's critical to continue this money so that we can give our children the best educational opportunities available. Please take a minute or two to drive down Hurricane Alley, as you'll see major improvements to the parking lot and to the drive. No more speed bumps and chuckles. We want our supporters to know that we cherish our facilities and our properties as much as they do with our teams that play there. So, again, thank you for all your support for those efforts. I can be reached by text or phone at 216-978-1931. End of report. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to Ms. Kelly Krall.
The Finance Committee will be scheduling a meeting with Mrs. A regarding the FY '23 budget, and either Mr. Singer or I will provide an update in June. On June 7th, we will have a demo of the Ohio checkbook. This is a tool I hope will benefit both the district and the community, helping with transparency and keeping our stakeholders informed. Congratulations to the class of 2022. The district has been posting the senior spotlights, and I enjoy reading the accomplishments of our students, especially the academic accomplishments. We always know what team or which athlete are doing great, but it's nice to see which students are doing great academically. And I will have 2 items that I wish to address during new business. I can be reached via bat signal? No. By email, kelly.krall@bcshurricanes.org, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Krall. And now on to Mr. Rob Slattery.
Thank you. The rec board meeting was scheduled for yesterday, it was canceled. The rec commissioner was not feeling well, so we're gonna reschedule that. Facilities, Dr. Ted mentioned that we're looking at getting another van for the transportation. And if you get a chance, drive through like Rick said with Hurricane Alley, the pavilion that the kids from Polaris have built is outstanding. I've been up there a couple times, different phases of it. Just amazing. You know, these kids, and we always kind of promote Polaris, but the advantages these kids are coming out of there with are, it's absolutely incredible. The student spotlights, doesn't really have anything to do with any of my committees, but I love seeing those things and reading just a couple of bullet points about all the kids. If I missed, I try to share all of them. If I missed one of them, it was nothing personal. They just come out so fast. There's so many of them. And lastly, the community service hours for the students on May 31st, from roughly 8:30 to 2:30, we have in the ballpark of 250 kids are going to be fanning out across the city. I just submitted a list of 30-plus addresses that were called in to me of people that need help. I sent it in to Mr. Hare. So it's a win-win. The kids are getting the service hours, people in the community are getting the help. It's going to beautify the city, and hopefully we get some good coverage on that and just show, you know, what our kids are capable of. So, and it is a renewal and it's no new money. That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Slattery. Now on Mr. Rocky Neale.
Thank you, Madam Bartczak. Where am I? Technology, Mr. Polaris, Dr.
Yes.
Polaris and I and the new guys
Mr.
gonna meet
Wallace,
in June.
absolutely, yes.
All right. Sounds like a plan to me. My legislation committee, I left the paperwork in my printer, so you won't hear that one. All right. I will talk about the Polaris, because there's some good news in Polaris.
When you look at me, I can just
No,
only
actually,
imagine.
they adopted some new books, all right, for aeronautics, construction trade, criminal justice. And the one that everybody is really excited about, they're starting a pre-veterinary class, science, in the fall, and they're redesigning, I don't know how many square feet it is, but it's gonna be actual veterinary lab. So I happen to go to a vet, which Mrs. Neale, you are pretty normal, that's pretty regular. And I said something to my vet, he goes, I'm in, whatever you guys do, I'm in, and I'll bring the director of nursing. He goes, and I'll help him go through the whole thing. I was like, oh, okay. Med vet, if any of you have been to med vet? Yeah.
They have plenty of my dollars.
Yeah, they got mine too. So that's one thing that's going on there, so. Where are we at here? The board did pass a motion to, for the adult education and all the student handbook for 22-23. They're starting to do a student spotlight for when people graduate. They actually have one going from a girl who just graduated in 2017, started a restaurant with her husband in Miami, Florida. So once it's all together, they showed us a short, brief part of it. It was amazing. That's what they're doing and all those people that have that career. So it's a wonderful place. I do want to speak highly of, I've stopped by the construction site several times. Those kids did a wonderful job learning. Jeff Busser, for those who are Brooklynites, he is related to the Busser family who grew up in the Brooklyn Acres. So he's their teacher and he does a wonderful job. There were two kids that were on the construction crew from Brooklyn, Coy Ostronic and Anthony Manick. They did a wonderful job. I met both of them. They did a great job. It's a beautiful thing over there. Before I forget that, I'll do that. I'm gonna break up. I'll go back to it. I do want to read this on your guys' behalf, all the board members. We have been working with our culinary programs to determine the best time to reintroduce annual board dinner.
I knew it had something.
We postponed several dinners due to the renovation project and because of COVID. With our last dinner being held in 2016, the dinner is an opportunity for the Polaris Board to invite fellow associate school board members and spouses for an evening where we showcase our students' accomplishments and induct a member into the Hall of Fame. We have tentatively scheduled, write this down, October 11th, all right? Our typical board meeting date for next year's dinner. More information will be forthcoming. However, I did not want you to, our intent to focus on October meeting.
I'm so blocking your text that day.
We're gonna be there, you're
No,
gonna be there.
you're invited.
You
Oh,
and,
that's-
you
I
and
like
Mrs.
you again.
Slattery.
Yeah.
You and your bride are coming,
misunderstood.
yes.
Yeah. My bad, I probably read it.
You said October 11th.
So we can unblock.
I'll send an invite to the veterans.
Yeah, no worries, October 11th, I'll remind you. They had a ninth grade advantage night, and Brooklyn had 13 students there, and students and guests, they had 28. So I think it's a wonderful place to be. If you're not a regular school kind of person, it's a great option to get started in your career. So that's my Polaris report, and the other thing is, I am on a bunch of committees, and the Hall of Fame of Brooklyn Hall of Fame has been put back together by Dr. Polaris, who's the chairperson is Mike Becker, AD, and a bunch of us have put it back together. There's myself, Jim Verba, Jackie Holko, Jim Oper, who else is there? Bob Hennings, and there's one more. Debbie Hall. She's the brain of their operation, believe me. I mean, she's smart. So anyway, tentatively, there's gonna be a Hall of Fame dinner September 22nd. It's not tentative, that is the date, at the LeVille on Brook Park Road. There'll be 4 inductees. They will be notified shortly. And then on the 23rd, they will come to the school, probably have something in the auditorium, that's our goal. The committee wants that, and then also that Friday night football game. We will do the announcement of those inductees as well, too.
Just know this is Achievement and Athletic Hall of Fame.
Correct. Achievement and Athletic Hall of Fame is correct. There will be, if there's not already, a link on the website for nomination of Hall of Fame, so if you do know of someone, there is a criteria.
And this is the first time since what, 16?
This is the first time since 2016. The group that had it did a wonderful job. They just sort of, 2 of them I know moved out of the country, and one passed and one just got a little bit older.
What's the criteria? Do you know of it offhand since they're?
It'll be, I don't know it off the top of my head, because there's different categories, and the category has different.
But there is an application.
There's an application, we actually, like I said, Mrs. Hall, Mrs. Holka, I'm not sure, those guys did all the work in getting that form done. Mr. Becker did a wonderful job. He's the leader of the parade. But it's something that's needed. I know a lot of older people that have asked me about it. So, anyway, that's one of my other committees. What I do on the side.
Hey, Rocky,
Yes.
I don't know if we reached out to the family of the David, he's a Hall of Famer in Brooklyn. He's an actor.
Bernie?
David Burney. On his recent passing, coming from Brooklyn schools in Brooklyn.
Another Acres guy.
Yeah.
That's right, he was.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because there could be some possible endowment money, if we ask for it. Consider that the family put an endowment in his name.
Right.
For scholarship.
I have no problem with that. I think the board should probably send a little something,
Yeah.
card, letter stating such. So,
Rick, you want to send me contact information? I can do something.
I'll do some research.
Okay, thank you.
and that's the end of my report. I'm all over the map. But that's
Got everything?
That's me.
Okay, all right, thank you. I would also like to congratulate the class of 2022 on their achievements. Do we have the exact number right now, as of right now, that for the class of 22? I know it's fluid, and I don't know. if
Total,
it's-
I do not, but I'll get that for you for sure.
Yeah,
I will.
I know we have the
absolutely
list
do.
of it, but I don't, because I
Yeah, I
don't
will-
remember
I
what
will
it
look
is,
for
but
it.
it's,
Depends if they get all their grass cut.
yeah, see, they gotta help you
Yeah,
out.
they gotta get their time.
Get those service hours in. I know I'm looking forward to the presentation about the open checkbook. in June, and then if maybe we can also have a follow-up presentation for the, like, since it's recorded, so the community can know about more and get more information about it too, like if you could do a small, like abbreviated version at like our second meeting of the month, so that they know about it, and then after you do the presentation, when will it be live, the website for?
We could pick, it's a very quick turnaround.
Okay.
So I was thinking, only because we're so close to fiscal year end, if we just wanna wait till July 1 to do,
That makes more sense.
to do it,
That
but,
would make sense.
yeah, it's a quick turnaround.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. I think, I know one of the things that I think we need to look at is, because I don't know what time the senior awards ceremony starts tonight, but one of the things I hope our website does, and that we need to do a better job of, is we need to keep a master calendar. I mean, we have been the third Tuesday of every month for decades. We shouldn't be planning events, school events, on nights when we know other things are happening in the district. I can't even tell you how many times I've sat here at a meeting when it was some other parent event that I wanted to be at, that I needed to be at, that I should have been at, but I was at the board meeting because, I mean, we need a master calendar. I know we have Dave now. I'm hoping that he can do something with it so that there's something to where each school, the administration, the board office, everybody can look at it and say, oh, no, you know, like plugging those dates in there so that things like this don't happen, so that we're not, you know, there's not overlap of events. People should be able to come to things like the board meetings and do the award ceremonies, and it shouldn't conflict with, there's been for years overlap, and I know it's been told to us before, a long time ago, that they couldn't keep a calendar because it changed too much.
Well, we can with
You know
Google,
what I-
so Dave and I have already had those conversations in terms of trying to coordinate what that looks like, so that's on, it's a conversation.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
All right, that's one of the things that I
Yeah.
think that's important for the district, so that, you know, it just helps us, you know, helps everyone out. I can always be reached, that's all I have, I can always be reached at 216-406-4304 by phone or by text. And now we're going to the approval of minutes, and board agenda is being read by Mr. Rick Singer tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay. See, be resolved that the minutes of the Board of Education be adopted, and all action taken by the Board of Education in said meetings is hereby reaffirmed and approved.
Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall. Yes. Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the financial statements of receipts and expenditures for the month of April 2022, including all purchase orders paid and all then and now statements for the month as submitted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall. Yes. Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby commends the students listed in attachments for the following academic and athletic honors. We have the National Honor Society 2022 inductees, National Junior Honor Society 2022 inductees, the National Art Honor Society for 2022 inductees, National Junior Art Honor Society 2022 inductees, National Spanish Honor Society 2022 inductees, National Technical Honor Society 2022 inductees.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments? Congratulations.
Good
You
job.
just
Yes.
read every
Awesome.
club I was never a part of.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall. Yes. Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter into an agreement with ESCLC to provide up to 12 days of instructional technology planning and consultation, professional development, coaching, and support from NOR-T2H throughout the 22-23 school year. Professional development services to be paid through grant funds.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall. Yes. Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter into a service agreement with Highland Speech Services, Inc. to provide ESY assessment, therapy, consultation for speech language services from June 21st through July 28, 2022. The agreement is on file at the Treasurer's Office.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Ms. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter an agreement with PEP Assist Program for consultation, specialist trainer services for the year 2022-23 school year, which will be paid out of the IDEA federal grant monies, agreement on file in the Treasurer's Office.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following cafeteria prices for the 2022-23 school year as noted.
Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? As always, I just say, always feed the babies, even if, so this is my thing, whether they pay or not, you know, I just, okay. Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education will hereby assess the following school fees for the students for 2022-23 school year as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
I do have a question. For the AP test, do we have any programs in place if there's a student that can't pay that?
They're assessed the fee based on their free reduced status.
Okay.
So if students have difficulty, we'll find a way to pay.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the graduation of the Brooklyn High School class of 2022 as submitted, providing all requirements for graduation have been met by the date of commencement.
I'm gonna motion that one. Can I get a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
They have no idea what they're walking into.
Congratulations.
Good job.
I do, I also love reading the spotlights. That is just, I'm so glad to see where our kids are going in the future. It's really nice. I love those. Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following individuals for the 2022-23 school year supplemental assignments with provision that such individuals comply with all the rules and regulations and the State Department of Education regulations pertinent to proper certification and fulfills the requirements of the supplemental contracts. They are LPDC Committee Member Laura Mills.
Are you serious?
You're gonna read all these?
It's
We
on
should
the
go
next
next
page.
3 pages.
Yeah, there's like,
As noted.
I was gonna say, we're gonna be here.
Maybe we'll make the next senior night.
So moved.
Who's as noted?
And,
I will make sure that's in the resolution next year.
As noted.
yes,
As noted.
noted. Okay, can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
You have a second? Questions, comments?
Yeah, you started down that path. I went,
Whoa,
whoa.
okay. Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes, all of them.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
No.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following certified staff members to provide extended school year ESY academic and supportive services to various Brooklyn City schools students, as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following classified staff member to work with students in the extended school year ESY program, effective June 14th through July 28th, 2022, as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be it resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves granting a limited contract to the following certified personnel for the 2022-23 school year as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the employment of the following classified personnel for the 21-22 school year as noted below, contingent upon the successful completion of background checks and verification credentials. Jamie Kumar.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the employment of the following individual to perform summer cleaning for 5 hours per day plus additional hours as needed, and that is Jamie Kumar.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the summer hours listed below, effective June 8th through August 17th, 2022, for the following classified staff as noted below.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves Matthew 𝗢𝗍𝗃 as an exempt at-will employee as a mechanic, effective July 1st, 2022, not to exceed 20 hours per week as needed, at a rate of $45 per hour, to perform maintenance and repairs on the district transportation fleet, contingent upon successful completion of background checks and verification of credentials.
Give a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yes, I have a question. Exempt, he's exempt, so we're paying a salary, but if he works over the 20 hours, would he,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that he has not worked over the 20 hours one time this year.
but if so, there's no difference in pay, or are we paying him $45 an hour?
He gets paid $45 an hour,
And he's exempt because,
because he is an at-will employee. So, he's an at-will employee, he's not part of our unions.
okay,
Matt has another full-time position, so he does this in a part-time capacity for us.
We're not paying any kind of
Benefit, no.
benefits or anything?
No,
like
not at all,
that.
it's just the hourly rate and whatever the taxes and the SCRS or anything like that is.
But he's covered under workers' compensation.
Correct.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Sorry, do we have a motion and did I miss
Oh,
it?
I thought we did.
All right,
Can I have a
sorry.
motion?
No.
Lou?
we don't.
I'll go. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? We did have a
So,
motion
okay,
because she asked
sorry,
the question.
I
So I was gonna say, I thought we had a motion, but we
And I
could
got a
double do
check
it.
mark that I motioned it.
Yeah, that's
so-
what I'm saying. I thought we had a motion, but that's
Here we
okay.
go.
That's okay. So, Ms. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves unpaid leave for Allison 𝗢𝗍𝗃, bus monitor, for the following dates and times, as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the treasurer to enter into a contractual agreement for student accident insurance, coverage with Guarantee Trust Life Insurance Company to be offered for the 2022-23 school year. This contractual agreement is on file in the treasurer's office, as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you explain this so that why people would wanna do this, why it's offered? Can you
You know,
explain?
per our policy, we say that we will offer them, accident insurance, so we're just doing it to follow our policy. If, they have an opportunity to go through this company with this
prices for the insurance.
What does it cover?
What does it cover? Ooh, a great question. To be honest with you, I don't know offhand, but I can,
Okay.
I'll give you that information.
Okay.
I think in the past, we've only had a handful of people maybe take this.
Yeah, there's, cause I know there's something, is there, I think like, if they get injured during sports, I believe it's covered.
Yeah, Monty, I think
believe
that's
it's-
the intention of it for
Yes.
just the additional coverage, or coverage for folks that may not have the medical insurance and kids want to participate in sports
Mhm.
or athletic. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that's what it's for.
I'll follow up with the coverage.
Okay, okay. I thought also in years past when we discussed this, I thought they said it also covers non-school related. I thought that
It
was
may,
said, I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
that's what I
Is
was
that
wondering.
with the 24-hour round?
24
Yeah, the 24, but I mean, yeah, so like there's ones that, so it isn't just for our athletes, it isn't, so it's for everyone, you know, like it covers everything, yeah, the 24-hour round the clock, that would be right there, see, Kelly? Find that one out. Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the transfer of funds from the General Fund 001 to the Underground Storage Tank Fund 031 in the amount of $3,100.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a
Second.
second? Questions, comments?
Question, where is this well on Ridge Road?
I have an underground gas well behind my house, I swear,
Mrs.
I
Neal,
do.
you know
And-
what's that?
And I didn't know that when I bought it, but I'm just saying, there is.
4,500
Come to
Ridge.
my
What
house.
is-
So it's actually the bus garage underground storage tank we had removed, and then we had to get the the USTR out because they had to check the soil and stuff, so they dug certain wells in the ground, and then we got the okay from the BUSTR to close it up. We have no findings, so we're in compliance, so now they have to come and remove them.
So this
So-
is
It's
not
not
on
really a
our,
well, it's
This
just
is on
like
our
they went
property,
down.
so this
Yeah, it
is.
isn't a well, it's.
So
like
this
where
is
the-
the,
I-
so our old, so where we used to,
There used to be a gas pump
we
there.
used to have the gas pump. We removed the gas
At the
pump
garage.
at the
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah.
So as part of the process in removing it, you have to make sure that the actual storage tank itself wasn't leaking. So that's why they have to do different soil samples.
So they're just core samples, not a well.
That's
technically.
it's a
Yeah, it
core,
isn't-
yeah, so it's a core sample of, what they refer to the well is, the well used to be the circumference of the tank. When they removed the tank, they did different core samples around the soil within there to make sure there was no contamination. Did I say that right?
so what's at 4,500 Ridge that they had?
That's actually,
That's the address.
That's Hurricane Alley. That's just that
It's
whole
on the door
property.
now.
yeah, I saw
It's
that.
on the door there at the bus garage, that address.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do that.
But if you
I saw
Google the
Ridge Road, I
football
go,
stadium, the
what
football
people
stadium
on
has an
Ridge Road?
address.
Yeah, 45, 25, 45, something.
But it says Hurricane Alley, not Ridge Road.
Yeah. I know, but-
Well,
Actually,
I-
that's very confusing for that, yeah,
Yeah.
but you can come visit my backyard and see another
I'm thinking
one.
somebody- we're digging in someone's backyard.
No, no, believe me, yeah, we didn't know that when we
Okay,
built the
thank you.
house.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, you can come hang out at the Bartczaks. Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall, Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be it resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the May 2022 five-year forecast.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Questions, comments?
I would like to say that you got a B grade, okay? There's still room for improvement.
Still room.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I messed up the PowerPoint.
don't agitate her, she's gonna make fun how old we are.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
felt that rap.
I'm trying to think if I ever got a B. No.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Be resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the attached resolution in recognition and appreciation to the Polaris Career Center and the Construction Trades Program for their contribution to the new pavilion located at Brooklyn Stadium, 4,500
Hurricane Alley.
Yeah.
Okay, Ridge Road at Hurricane Alley. Got
I'll
it?
motion that one. Can I get a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Great job, kids, we
Thank
appreciate it.
you so much.
Absolutely.
Brooklyn
outstanding.
kids, and there's some pictures that were, those kids did a wonderful job. They did some That's nice, it's
They
nice.
poured the,
The other
Or,
day,
yeah,
Or whatever.
they just gotta finish up,
a little bit of roof.
a little bit
issue.
of roof, and I think then it's ready to be painted, so we're good with that.
So we build a new high school, just have Polaris.
There you go.
There we go.
no initials in the concrete.
No, I didn't see any today.
I thought, oh, I drove by, I'm like, man, that's just an invitation.
As of today, there were.
Anyone else? Ms.
I
A, can you
will
call the roll?
send this to Polaris too once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution determining to submit to the electors of the Brooklyn City School District the question of the renewal of an existing tax levy pursuant to sections 5705.194 to 5705.197 of the Ohio Revised Code as submitted. Copy of the file in the treasurer's office.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
No new taxes.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cyngier,
Yes.
Ms. Krall,
Yes.
Mr. Neale,
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes. Do we have any correspondence related to action information? None. Do you have any other business?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanna be cognizant of everyone's time, so, and of course I had to write it down. So if I could just read through it and then we can either discuss it or discuss it later, but I just wanna, because I know we only have like 30 minutes, so. I have 2 items. The first one, our motto is tradition, pride, and excellence. However, it seems that tradition has been pushed to the wayside. For as long as I can remember, graduation was always at 2 p.m. on Sunday after Memorial Day weekend. It has been that way for so long, even the 2022 city calendar has it marked as June 5th. This year, graduation was scheduled for a Saturday evening, and I'm curious as to why the change. Not to mention that after a 7 p.m. graduation, families really don't have time to celebrate. Then there is a change in venue to the stadium, resulting in 2 rain dates. I understand the change for 2021, but is this the intent going forward? With no disrespect to the board that may have approved this, I'm not a fan of graduation at the stadium, especially since Cleveland weather is so unpredictable. You either have families sitting on a hot metal bleachers with kids sweating in their gowns and the band in their formal wear, or families freezing in the bleachers with the kids unable to wear jackets over their gowns. And what if it rains mid-ceremony or directly after the ceremony? Rain means no pictures with your family or friends or favorite teachers, and band instruments can get ruined. And are 2 rain dates necessary? It seems rather inconvenient for family members coming in from out of town. Maybe grandma can make the Saturday evening ceremony, but then it rains for 2 days and grandma has to be back at work Monday morning. If the stadium is now going to be the graduation venue of choice, then I feel a simple inclement weather solution, such as moving graduation to the auditorium, would be a better alternative to multiple rain dates. In 2020, when decisions were being made about graduation, the board and superintendent collectively agreed on how to proceed. Since 2023 is to be determined, does that mean the board will be consulted for a vote? What is the reason for not keeping the traditional Sunday commencement? It's easy to remember, it's easy to plan ahead of time, and there are no questions when announcements are ordered, or was 2022 just another exception? Also regarding graduation, last year the kids were allowed to decorate their caps. Is that happening this year? I understand there were steps put in place to monitor and improve what was on the caps, but I do not believe it was 100% effective. Again, no disrespect to the board that approved this, I just want to state that I think it's tacky and distracting, and I have received similar feedback from parents. I also think it puts us at risk when we determine what is or is not allowed on caps. We don't have to discuss it now, because 2022 is already scheduled, but I wanted to put my thoughts out there as these things were coming to mind, since we're currently in graduation season. And maybe it's something we can address over the
No,
summer.
and I can address it right now, because
Okay.
I can address it right now.
I mean, like, before I have to say, like, I will say I agree with her, 100%. I don't think we should be having it at the stadium. I think it should be exactly like it's always been, the Sunday in the auditorium. I said that before. I think I've stated my opinion on it. I think the weather in Cleveland, I've ran in the rain to get to the auditorium too many times to count, and the pouring rain. But the one thing she said in there, and she has no idea about this, but we do not have one photo of my husband or myself or us as a family with my daughter when she graduated college. Because halfway through the ceremony, it started pouring. So we all left there. Some people were like out. They just left. Some of the families did. My family, Steve and I, and of course I looked at her little brother and her little sister, I was like, don't even think about it, you are not moving, we will stand here in the rain and watch her do this. We were wet dogs walking out to the parking lot, so I have not one photo of her in her cap and gown on her graduation from college with me, my husband, her brother, or her sister. And so I agree with that. That point is a very good point, I think, and so I agree with you on what you said with that. And if you would have been in the auditorium, had my daughters been in an auditorium, I could have taken pictures, whether it was pouring outside or not, in that lobby. At least there would have been photos of her in that gown.
A couple things, so we're not doing the decoration of the caps, so I agree with you, so we're not doing.
And last year, there was an issue with a gown.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
there was, yeah, so we're not doing the caps this year. The reason for the keeping it at the stadium is, number one, we don't have to limit tickets typically for families that come into the auditorium. Number two, I believe that I felt it was a good atmosphere last year, was a nice day. And really the moving to the evening time is just so we could do it under the lights for the kids, make it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more special for the kids. That's the true reason why we moved there. I like your point about having it either if it's raining that day, then we just move it to the auditorium. I like that suggestion. The way we did it this year was just to make sure that we had it outside and so that we didn't have to limit the tickets. I've been in those auditoriums and during graduation before, and it can be hot to say the least. And so part of having it outside is just a little bit of a different atmosphere in terms of making sure that as many family members that want to celebrate the graduation are able to do so.
I just want to say one more thing, and then I'm done with it. Like, anyone else wants to say anything? I didn't vote on any of it. I wouldn't have voted for this plan. The board wasn't consulted. We didn't pick a date. Last year, we had no say in it either. I found out about things when a letter came to my house, so we didn't vote on anything. So I'm just letting you, I didn't personally vote, the board didn't vote on it. You're right, we didn't have a say in it, and I think we should. But I'm saying, we didn't approve anything prior to January, before you got here or anything. There wasn't anything approved.
Because I do know a parent that the announcements are wrong. I don't know if that was ever brought to anyone's attention, but the announcements that
The announcements coming from
Jostens.
So that would be something that Mr. Hare the parent needs to contact Mr. Hare about that.
And I think they did, I don't know,
Okay.
but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that I don't know if 2 o'clock was the original time and then they changed it,
Yeah.
because all the announcements say 2 o'clock.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
as a 2020 parent,
Nobody will be late.
my announcement wasn't right, and
Yeah.
I have that for, forever, but I'm just saying, some
Well, if they were
people-
wrong, then they'll correct them, and I know the rep at Jostens, and he would correct them.
'Cause those are expensive.
Oh,
I
they
mean,
for sure are, yeah.
For what I paid and we
absolutely.
didn't even have graduation, that was a
Right.
bummer, so I'm just.
My
putting it out
intention,
there.
our intention is to keep it outside the stadium. I just think it's a nice venue to do so. But I do love your suggestion of if it's a raining, that we just move it inside and leave it at that. And we'll just kind of take the chance. But I think having it outside is just, it's a good atmosphere, allows us not to limit the tickets.
So are we limiting them in the beginning, because the announcement did say 7?
I'm gonna be honest with Kelly, I would have to talk to Brian about that. I don't know the specifics in terms of how many, I
Because
don't
that
have
was
any
the
of
old,
those.
because that was the old limit, and that's the announcement that went out, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll
whatever.
talk to Brian and I'll.
That was the
I'll put
old
an
limit
update.
for inside?
Yes, was
We can
7.
accommodate 7 for. wow,
Yeah,
I
and that's why, and I think honestly, going forward, whether or not it goes outside, I think the board should have a say in it. I think going forward for next year, the board should have a say in it.
I did like the idea of the later time at the stadium, because, man, was it 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock last year?
Yeah.
Man,
Well, and that's
we
part of it too. I
cooked.
mean, that was part of the.
It was rough.
That was part of it in terms of Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. It was a warm day, but you're right,
But
Cleveland.
I'm just getting it from
Yeah, no,
parents
for
that are
sure.
oh, well, at 2 o'clock, you're done by 4, you go out to dinner, and it's like
Yeah, and
Saturday
you know
night.
what, I'll be honest with you, Kelly,
Restaurants still close at 9 o'clock, so.
Kelly, I'll be honest with you, I'm okay with either date. I understand why Brian did what he did.
Mhm.
What I would say is that what we'll do is we'll fix it, we'll come up with a clear pattern, and make sure that we communicate that to the parents. But in terms of, I do like it outside. I just think it's a good venue. It's nice. People can spread out. But yeah, to your point, I do like your suggestion with the rain date piece.
We actually used we were graduated at the rec center. The ice was down and they had the stage and everything there and all the family up in the stands.
You said you,
Oh, yeah, I have one more thing.
okay, I was just
I
asking.
just wanna make
don't
sure
know
it was done, okay.
if- I don't know if that was it.
Um,
Everybody done, or did anyone else wanna say anything?
I'm after her.
Oh, okay, okay.
The second new business item is sort of old business. In my February report, I mentioned my desire to engage the community more when it comes to the district and our events. And after speaking with some other parents and my friends, I want to propose a new board committee, a community engagement committee, and I wanna start brainstorming ideas for the summer and the upcoming school year. We had a similar committee back in early 2020, and I already have people that wanna resurrect this group and get involved. It's so important that we keep the community engaged year-round and not only when we need them. The city just started an Age at Home program, so they have the current addresses for our seniors, and I can work with Mrs. 𝗢𝗲𝗄, who's our liaison, and also the senior center regarding getting those addresses and formulating a plan to get the seniors our free card, whether or not we have teams go out and deliver them or we mail them. And I think we need to get all our sports schedules either on a magnet or one of those like what the Browns do, the little pocket card to hand out. And then Mr. Slattery had a good suggestion about making senior night a double senior night by getting our senior citizens to a Friday night football game, to the senior night Friday night football game. And maybe where you could work with our music and athletic parent groups to provide like popcorn or water or something like that. So I just have lots of ideas and we have plenty of opportunities, to not make everything about the levy. And I want to just bring that back forward in hopes that we can move forward. We can move.
Good idea.
Anybody-
How can I support you? You said I had a good idea.
Anyone have any comments on that?
It's a great idea.
I think it's wonderful. I think that
Yeah.
we should have that committee. I do. I think
Yeah,
that's
great
wonderful.
idea.
Yeah, I do. I think we should go forward. So then what, will we need a motion at the next meeting to
Yeah,
add that
I'll
committee?
I'll put it on for a
Okay.
discussion point and we can talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, add that committee, okay?
That's all I
Right.
have, thank you.
And
Mr.
I
Neale?
would like
Okay.
to,
Mhm.
this board to consider a consent agenda with Dr. 𝗢𝗲𝗄 going through just about every resolution and having discussion prior to us reading them again. I think we should consider looking into consent agenda. So we put it on the board, or the whole thing, it's what we do at Polaris. The superintendent goes over his notes, treasurer goes over his notes, and they say, does everybody agree to it? And if you don't agree to it, you can pull it off. So I think we should consider using a consent agenda, so.
I know we discussed that in the past. I'm not comfortable with it. I like to vote on everyone. I like to read everyone. Sometimes
know.
sometimes they can't read it. I know for the time wise, but I think it's like, then we just go through it. They know what we're saying. I know we've discussed it in the past, but
Well,
that's
you
just
can
my
ask
opinion.
him
Yeah.
everything, everyone, you can ask her the same thing, because he's gone through it already once today, then we all read it again, then we all discuss it again.
So can we just, instead of going over the agenda items at the beginning, don't just go over the agenda items in order when we get there? Instead of
You
reading
do
through-
that, if
instead
that's
of
what you
reading
wanna do,
through
like I
that
said,
part.
today
Yeah, then we can just do it.
we doubled everything we did here today.
So instead of
Yeah.
at the beginning you reading through them, just wait till we get to them?
Yeah, because it seems to be like when you do go over it, and then we do end up asking you questions throughout the agenda anyway. It
Well,
does.
we remember we changed it too.
Yeah, we changed it too, so we
We
could,
changed it, we changed it to,
Yeah.
we used to do it that way, Kelly, and then the board requested that I review agenda items
Correct.
ahead of time, which, it's fine with me. You listen, either way, it's fine with me. It doesn't matter to me. I mean,
I just made a suggestion, I just think we're doing double work here.
So I have a question then, so then if we did it that way and there's one thing that I don't wanna
You
vote
go like
yes-
this, I want that item pulled off, and we pull it off.
And you
You
vote on
pull
it
it out.
separately.
And you
vote
vote
on
on
it
it separate.
Oh.
Yeah, other school districts do it, North Walton does it that
A
way.
lot of schools do it that way.
You have one vote to do the whole thing, but.
You have
in
one
your
vote to
case,
do the whole thing, but if there's something you don't like, you pull it off, say, let's vote on that separately.
I think for transparency, it doesn't look good. This is my opinion. I just don't think it looks good. But that's just how I feel about it. I think it's,
I just throw it out there, if we don't, majority doesn't rule, then
Yeah.
we stay the way we
Yeah.
are.
Do you want me to add it for the discussion item next
can?
week?
Yeah, yeah.
Next time?
Yeah.
That's fine.
anyone else? Okay, announcement of the next regular meeting is Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, in the Treasurer's Conference Room, 9200 𝗏𝗏𝗄 Road, Brooklyn, Ohio, 6 p.m. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments, and Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Cyngier.
Yes.
Ms. Ms. Krall.
Yes.
Mr. Neale.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bartczak.
Yes.
Question is eight.